Joining us now for analysis on the Democratic convention and what she'd like to see in the Republican convention is Kimberly Klacik, the Republican congressional nominee running in Maryland's 7th District. So, Kimberly, I first want to get your thoughts on what we've seen the past 3 nights. I know tonight is night 4, wrapping it all up, but we've had 3 nights now to get an idea of what the Democratic pitch is to voters. What's your response?
Alex. So my response is the DNC seems to be doing the same strategy they had back in 2016, and that is playing the victim card. The best part is when I saw former First Lady Michelle Obama talking about how hard it was to be a Black American woman in today's society from her mansion in Martha's Vineyard. Like the hypocrisy, the ironic, it was just so ironic. I couldn't believe it. But that seems to be the message, you know? It's all about victimization. It's all about race, as usual. I haven't heard a whole lot about them talking what's going on in Portland, what's going on with the violence across the inner cities like Baltimore. But of course, they don't ever talk about those things. They just talk about things that they think will get people fired up and going to the polls to vote Democrat.
And anyone who has been paying attention to politics this past week has seen your viral campaign video. I mean, that is something that a lot of people may have not necessarily expected from a Republican candidate or anything like that. But that is a video that, for example, on the night where Michelle Obama gave her speech that made a lot of headlines, your video was seen more times than Michelle Obama's speech. So what is it that you are doing correctly, that you are getting out to voters, that maybe the rest of the Republican Party can learn from?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I tell people all the time, even when I go into the neighborhoods, the first thing I ask the residents is, how can I get you to vote for a Republican? What do I have to do to convince you to vote otherwise? And they always tell me, you know what, Kim, you're the first Republican I've ever met. And that's what we have to do differently as Republicans. We have to go into these inner cities, stop writing them off and thinking they're going to just vote down ballot. We've got to go in there and give them options and let them know what we can do in their communities. So I really hope Republicans take me up on basically just maybe mimicking a little bit of what I was doing in that video, because we have a lot of Republicans running in a lot of inner cities across the country. So I'm hoping to see more videos pointing out the problems of failed Democratic leadership. As I pointed out in that video, Baltimore City has been run by Democrats for 53 years. It's unbelievable that we have parts of Baltimore that look the way it does.
And Kimberly, ever since that video came out, in fact, even well before that, I mean, we've had you on the show before. We've talked about what you're doing in the city of Baltimore, whether it's the cleanup efforts, whether it's you going out and talking directly to voters. It's very clear that you have a grassroots campaign in the district that you're running in right now. But then there's other people around the country that are saying, why is it that this is an anomaly? Why aren't more people across the country, more Republicans across the country, taking the battle, I should say, to these inner cities, places where maybe Republicans haven't been competitive in the past, but need to be competitive if they want to have a future. So acknowledging all of this, have you been asked to speak at the RNC or have a bigger role in the Republican Party or anything like that? Or are you right now focused on your race?
So I actually spoke with the RNC recently, and so they are, I guess, thinking about it. I'm told that it's in the works and I might be speaking. And of course, I would be doing it virtually like many people that will be speaking at that. So hopefully I can say a few words. And I would say exactly what I'm saying to you, Alex. We have to go into these inner cities and really do something. When I said I wanted to run in District 7, I was told by somebody within the MD GOP that Jesus Christ couldn't win this race. And so I was like, you know what? We got to get out there. We can't just keep writing these people off and acting as if, number one, neglect them like the Democrats do. But number two, when are we going to chip away even at some of these districts? We'll never win if we never go in.
And I think you hit the nail on the head right there. And sometimes we look too much at the district and not enough at the candidate. I mean, a lot of times when we see these big upsets, for example, or we see one of these districts flip from blue to red or red to blue, it's not necessarily because of the individual's party, it's because of the individual themselves. And I mean, I've already said that you are running a grassroots campaign, you have name recognition within your district, you've made change from within your district as well. So, I mean, there's very much so evidence to say that you are going to be very competitive in this upcoming race. So when you talk about your campaign, and what is something that you have found to be successful that maybe other people can use in running their own campaigns in a competitive district?
Yeah, so you know this because I've talked to you so many times. I rely heavily on social media. Sometimes you got to just get your own camera out and show some of the disparities yourself. And when I did that last summer, I know I was talking to you about it. Last summer, Donald Trump retweeted the videos about the illegal dumping and all the trash in Baltimore. I did that with my own little camera. You know, I had to show it for myself. You can't wait for mainstream media to come to your neighborhood and actually show some of these disparities. But after I did that, the local newspaper then started to investigate, and they found out the predominantly white areas, higher income level households, when they call DPW, the place that comes to pick up the trash and clean up the streets, they call them, and it comes 100% of the time. If you live in one of these predominantly black neighborhoods, low income household, they come 5% of the time. So it's not their imagination. You know, these areas are being neglected. The areas that I walk the streets in that video and so many times in my other videos, that was the area that was hit by the riots in 2015 after the death of Freddie Gray. So millions of dollars came to that corridor and just never ended up coming to the corridor.
And once again, I can't stress the importance of showing how important it is to speak to what's going on in your own community, and in order to really reach the people that are eventually going to be voting for you. Once again, we are telling all of our viewers, if they want to follow your campaign even more and see that video that we were talking about before, they can go visit kimkforcongress.com and get all the information right there. But Kimberly Klacik, once again, I appreciate you coming on the show tonight. Thank you very much.